Hello, it's me again. I'm working on this, I think you pronounce it Heisler. Anyway, it's an odd locomotive. I bought a Rivarossi chassis that needed a little bit of work to get it running right. It runs all right now. And from the last video, if you remember, a pile of junk that I had to make this locomotive. I had a cheap tender, Pennsylvania tender. I had a 040 little tiny switcher unit that I cut the cab off, and then I had a 060 top section of the shell, which is this. So these are the pieces that I have left from the pile of crap that we started out with, minus what ended up on the floor. So that's the pile. That's what's left, other than the bottom of the tender, which was a Bachman. So I'll walk you through this here. This section here is the shell from the 040. This section here obviously is the tender, which this is what's left of it. I cut the coal load out. I cut the bottom of this section and I made the sides. The light that was on the back, I cut that off. I drilled it out from the front and from the bottom. I want to put an LED in there and a piece of clear lens. The front one is already going to have one drilled out because it was from an old Rivarossi and the bulb went in from the bottom. So this section here is part of the tender, the cab that was from the 060. This needed to be longer. It actually needed to be a little bit more longer, but what's an eighth of an inch amongst friends, right? So what you see, the white is crazy glue and baking soda. So I cut the front of this cab off, which was from the 040. I put on this, the 060. I chopped down, I ripped the roof off, which is right here. I cut the front of it right down the middle and then pulled it in because it was wider than this. So that's what it looks like in the front. And then of course I just made this roof, which is really smooth. And then I added little pieces in the front here to fill it. This is the tender cap. I rounded these out with the grinder, a little miniature grinder, both sides obviously. And the front section is cut out. I chopped this off. These were the sides, the walkways of the locomotive, the 060, what's left. The compressors or whatever I could find I put back because the original ones were missing. And I put the tanks, I made them smaller though, put them back where they belong, on both sides. And what else did we do? I filled these holes because the rail's going to be up higher. I didn't fill this hole because I'm going to need it. And what else here? What else we got? Okay, so what I did to the top part of the shell, and I discussed this in the video, I think, that I was going to chop out. What I cut out was this. This was originally in the middle. The shell was longer. So I chopped that out, I sectioned it back together, and I took, I want to say about 1/8 of an inch off the back here, give or take, and then I glued it back together. It still needs to be cleaned up a little bit. So I'll pull this off, and then we will look at what it looks like underneath. Let me just find something to hold the camera here. Oh. I will drill a small hole and get a small screw in there. I really don't have to. The shell does fit pretty tight. I just don't want to put a screw in the back here. So I really don't know what I'm going to do, but it's a little bit of work to get the shell off. It's still got the original Rivarossi motor. It's really kind of shoehorned in there, but we'll don't want to break anything here. So she was a little tight in the back. I had to shave some of this down, which I really didn't want to do, but I had made this back half of this. I cut a little bit too much off on one side, so I had to, obviously had to make them even. So I kind of screwed up. But this is what it looks like inside. It's not a mess. You can see that white is the baking soda. There's a little bit here. Grinded out the center to add basically make a channel so I could fill it with glue and baking soda. And right in here is kind of hollowed out a little bit. So because the motor is here and we needed that little extra space. The chassis runs pretty good. Are we still hooked up here? Yeah. That piece of tracks might have some baking soda on it, affecting the pickup. I don't know, but it used to sputter a lot and die out for no reason. But I cleaned the commutator and the wheels, and what I found was, which one was it? On the back here, what I found was on this truck, it's got one of these. It had slid off the shaft a little bit towards here, and when it did that, it allowed the worm gear to push backwards, causing the rear truck to bind up, so it was like, you know, chugging. And that was originally the problem when I received it. When I bought it, it said, you know, that it didn't run that great. But that was actually the problem, other than, you know, it needed to be cleaned up. You can see how shiny the wheels are now. So that's that. We'll just stick the shell back on, and then we'll see what it looks like. All right, so we'll get the shell back on. Well, we're just going to look at the back here. I did kind of screw up a little bit. I have to fix it. You can see a little bit of the aluminum frame underneath there. I cut too much of the back of the tender off, so there's a space there. So I got to fix that. It's really not a big deal. But she looks all right. Looks kind of weird with half the lettering. That's used to say Pennsylvania. Obviously this thing is not designed to go fast, and it surely isn't going to pull much. Doesn't have any traction tires or anything like that, but it's just a logger, I guess. But I always wanted one. So I got one now, and I'll probably never use it. But I had seen them on the interweb, and they were $150, $200 in auctions. I didn't want to spend that much money. Why buy something and then, it's not going to run right anyway? So I just wanted to make a little bit of a project and use some of the spare junk that I had laying around to build this. So that's what I did. Anyway, thank you for watching, and see you soon.